Okay, fifth graders, we are really nearing the end of Module 3, down to our last two lessons. Today we're doing Module 3, Lesson 15, and basically we're taking everything we know about adding and subtracting fractions, whether they have the same denominators or not, and drawing pictures or using multiplication to make equivalent fractions. We're going to use all this to help us solve multi-step word problems, okay? When we do work with fractions, oftentimes the numbers can get really big and we can make mistakes. So it's important for us to always estimate beforehand to kind of see what we think the answer should be, because in the end we want to make sure that our answer actually makes sense. Okay, there's nothing worse than doing a lot of really hard math calculations and then ending up with some sort of answer that's really crazy and it doesn't even make sense. Okay, so we're always going to use benchmark numbers to also help us see if our answer is reasonable. So remember, today our goal is talking about using what we know to solve multi-step word problems, but also to use benchmark numbers and estimations to first see what our answer should be, okay? So we're going to always start the same way. We're going to read, draw, and write, okay? But then we're going to estimate too. So it says, John used 1 3/4 kilograms of salt to melt the ice on his sidewalk. Then he used another 3 4/5 kilograms on the driveway. If he originally bought 10 kilograms of salt, how much salt does he have left? So write down what the question's asking and the important information. Then see if you can draw a picture to represent the situation. Addison.
How much salt does he have left?
We want to find out how much salt he has left, okay? What important information do we need in order to figure out how much salt he has left? Violet?
He originally had 10 kilograms. He used
He had 10 kilograms.
1 3/4 kilograms and then 3 4/5.
Good. So he had 10 kilograms to start. He used up 1 3/4, and then he used up another 3 4/5. So a picture might look like this. He originally had 10 kilograms of salt. He used up 1 3/4. He used up 3 4/5. And he has some amount left. We're trying to figure out how much he has left. So this is a multi-step problem. What would the first step be that you would need to do? Maham?
So you would have to subtract 1 3/4 and 3 4/5 from 10.
Well, that's the whole thing. But what's the first thing that you need to do?
You can add.
You have to add up 1 3/4 and 3 4/5 to find out how much is left, I mean how much was used, right? And then you take that total and subtract it. But let's use benchmark numbers to do some estimation first. Let's lock these estimations in our head. 1 3/4 is pretty close to what?
2.
Okay. And 3 4/5 is pretty close to? So about how much did he use up already?
6.
Okay. So about how much would he have left?
4.
Right? Because 10 minus 6 is 4. So we're going to keep this in our head as our estimation, okay? So we know that when we add 1 3/4 and 3 4/5, we should get something pretty close to 6. Should we get 6 or should we get something less than 6 or should we get something more than 6?
Less than 6.
Yeah, because I'm not quite adding 2 and I'm not quite adding 4. I'm adding just shy of both of those. So I'm going to end up with something just shy of 6, okay? Let's do the math and see if that is really what we get. So we have 1 3/4 plus 3 4/5. Do I have the same units right now? No. What is my least common denominator going to be?
20.
Okay, good. So let's rewrite the numbers using common denominators. At this point, I'm comfortable letting you just write the equivalent fractions, but if you make a mistake, that's on you, okay? So we can think to ourselves, in order to get 20ths, I have to multiply 1 3/4 by what version of 1? 5 over 5. So what's 3 times 5?
15.
Okay, 15/20. So 1 3/4 is equivalent to 1 15/20. Similarly, 3 4/5 is equivalent to 3 16/20. Very good. Don't forget the whole numbers. A lot of times we focus on the fractions because we're making equivalent fractions and we forget the whole numbers. Okay? Let's add the whole numbers. What's 1 plus 3?
4.
Okay. If I have 15/20 and I add 16 more 20ths, what do I get?
31.
Okay. But we see that there's a hole hiding in there, yes?
Yes.
So how many holes do we actually have?
5.
And how many 20ths do we have?
11.
Let's think about our estimation of 6. We wanted something less than 6. Is 5 and 11/20 less than 6?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's about half. away from 6, right? And that's about right, because if you think about it, 1 3/4 is 1/4 away from 2, which is half of half, right? And then we have 1/5, which is also half of half, almost, right? Because 2.5 fifths would be 1/2. Does that make sense? Okay, so now we have to take our 10 kilograms, and we have to subtract 5 and 11/20 to find out what's left. Is this the same as 10 minus 5 and then minus 11/20? Is that the same? Yeah. So what's 10 minus 5?
5.
So this is the same as 5 minus 11/20. If I have 5 and I want to take away 11/20, will I still have 5 holes?
No.
How many holes will I have?
4.
Okay. And then how many 20ths will I have left?
9.
This is 4 and 9/20. Let's go back to our estimation. We thought we should end up with something close to 4. Is that pretty close to 4? Yes. The last thing we need to think about is what are the units? 4 and 9/20. Well, I have to look. How much salt does he have left? The salt is being measured in kilograms. So the answer is 4 and 9/20 kilograms. So this question is asking us to figure out how much time he had left for question number 3. And we want to know in minutes and seconds. Okay, we know altogether he had 20 minutes to do it. There were 3 problems, right? The first one, he took up 9 3/4 minutes, and then he took up another 3 4/5 minutes. So if we draw a picture, we can think about it in the same way as our first problem. He had 20 minutes altogether. He used up 9 3/4. I'm going to make it almost half because 9 3/4 really is almost half, right? And then he used 3 4/5 minutes on the second problem. We want to find out how much time he has left for his last problem. So just like our first problem we just solved, we have to first add up to see how much time has been already used. Okay? So let's think to ourselves. 9 3/4 is pretty close to how many minutes?
10.
10 minutes, okay. And 3 4/5 is pretty close to?
6. I got 4 minutes.
Is what? 4, right? So almost how much time has he used up?
14 minutes.
14 minutes, right? And so how much time would he have left?
6.
Okay. Now, did he actually use up 14 minutes?
No.
Did he use up more or less than 14 minutes?
Less.
So should he have more or less than 6 minutes left? More. Okay, so you got to think this to yourself too. This is actually kind of the math you do in your head all the time. When I say, oh, you have about 10 minutes left, you can look to yourself, oh, I still have 2 problems. That means I have this much time left for each problem, right? This is very realistic estimation that you need to be doing in your daily lives. Yes? That's what I do all the time too. I look and see, oh, we have about, 30 more minutes left for math. Great. Here's what we can get done. Okay? Let's find out how much time he actually has though. So we have to do 9 3/4 plus 3 4/5. Again, do we have common units?
No.
But what would my LCD be?
20.
Again, good. So 9 3/4 is the same as 9 and how many 20ths?
15 20th.
Just like before, good. And 3 4/5 is the same as 3 and?
16
Oh, look at the same numbers. Okay, so that's going to be what? 12 and,
31 20th.
which is?
13 11 20th.
So how much time has he used up already?
13 and 11 20th.
13 and 11/20 minutes. Now, if we want to find out how many minutes he has left, we have to take how many he started out with, which is 20. And we have to take away what he's used up, which is 13 and 11/20. Now, if I just do 20 minus 13, would I get the real answer?
No.
Would that be bigger or smaller than the real answer?
Smaller. Bigger.
In this case, bigger, because do I have to add 11/20 or do I have to take away 11/20? Take away. So I can continue by doing 7 minus 11/20, which is?
6 and 9 20th.
Okay. It is, yeah, he has 6 and 9/20 minutes, but that's not my final answer because it asks me to write my final answer in minutes and seconds. So I know it's 6 minutes, that's for sure, right? But I have to figure out 9/20 of a minute is equal to how many seconds? Well, just like we were talking about in the problem of the day, how many seconds are there in 1 minute?
60.
So that means I want to make it out of 60 because if there's 60 minutes, I know that's how many 60 seconds. I know the top number will be how many seconds I actually have. So how do I get from 9/20 to 60ths? What do I have to do? Multiply by, Adi? 3 over 3. So what is 9 times 3?
27.
So therefore the answer is 6 minutes and
27 seconds.
27 left to take the test. Good.